Oh, that escalated quickly.
I'm playing a pot for nearly $8,000, and 3 other players are all in. Let's back it up. Yesterday, I played in the WPT Championship. It was the first tournament I've ever played in Vegas. I grinded for 8 whole hours, and then I busted, which means I made $0 after playing poker all day. I'm used to playing poker in Texas, where the action is crazy, the tables are fun, and the players typically aren't that good. I managed to do really well playing poker in Texas this year, but I've always wondered if I could do the same thing in Las Vegas. Vegas poker is basically the opposite of Texas poker. The action isn't near as good. Everyone plays like we're on the final table of the WSOP, and the tables are full of grinders who are basically just waiting for aces. Today, I'm gonna be playing poker all day to see if I'm good enough to be a winning poker player in Las Vegas.
Walked all the way downstairs, got some orange chicken, and just as I was finishing eating it, I spilled it on myself. So not only did I pay $20 for a plate of orange chicken, I spilled it on my pants, so gotta go change.
For our first session of the day, we're gonna be playing at the Wynn. They have like 50 games running with a 300-person wait list, but I get called for the 2-5 game right away. I buy in for $1,500. I immediately recognize that most of the players at my table are super tight. I'm a tight player too, but I'm gonna have to loosen up if I actually wanna make a profit at this table. I do just that, and it goes horrible. I lose basically every single hand for the first hour, but then I pick up 5-6 offsuit on the button, and decide to bluff off another $220, which means it's time to add on for another $1,000. I've been playing for 1 hour. I'm down $1,000. I did manage to pick up a lot of information while donating over the past hour. The number one thing I picked up on is that one player in particular never folds. If he has a pair, he's calling anything. So my goal is to play hands against that guy. 30 minutes later, I pick up 8-6 offsuit in late position. This hand sucks, but the guy we're targeting is in the small blind and has been calling basically every raise the past hour. Open to 30. Sure enough, our guy calls in the small blind. Everyone else folds. We're heads up. The flop is horrible. My opponent checks. I see bet for 35. He calls. We're gonna need some help because there's no bluffing this guy. The turn is a 6 of spades giving us top pair. My opponent checks again. I think he either has a flush draw or has us in a horrible shape with the 4. I decided to check back for pot control. The river is a 10 of spades. The flush draw misses, and now my opponent decides to lead out huge for $125. Nobody at this table is bluffing, but if there's one person that is even capable of bluffing, it's this guy. He either has a missed flush draw or a 4. Let's hope he has a 4. I put in the call. He slaps the table twice, which typically means we're good. I show my pair of 6s, and he shows queen jack offsuit. Yeah, this is a guy I want to be playing pots against. So let's do just that. Exactly 3 minutes later, I look down at 7-10 of hearts in the big blind. The straddle is on and there's 1 limp before our guy raises to 35 from the cutoff. It folds to me, I call. The limper calls as well, so we're going 3 ways to a flop. The flop is exactly what we were looking for. It's 7-5-10, giving us top 2 pair. If our guy has an overpair, it's a wrap. I check, and so does a hijack. The cutoff bet's $60. This board is super wet with straight and flush draws out there, but the only player who could have actually connected with this board is a hijack. Now, I'm not concerned about him because even if he sticks around, he doesn't have much money left behind, which means we can still build a massive side pot with our guy in the cutoff. For this reason, I decided to just call. The hijack calls as well. We're still 3 ways to a turn. All we need is a brick. The turn is just that. That deuce doesn't change anything, so if the cutoff has an overpair, he should keep betting on this turn. I check, and so does the hijack. The cutoff keeps on betting, this time for $250. He is around $750 behind. I think our decision is obvious. I go all in. The hijack folds. The cutoff thinks about it for maybe 5 seconds before announcing we're going heads up to a river for a pot of nearly $2,300. The river is a king. I show my 2 pair and our opponent doesn't muck. He looks at his cards for what feels like 5 minutes. If he's slow rolling me right now, that would actually be kind of hilarious. Although I'd probably be super pissed if he was. After looking at his cards 10 times, he finally mucks his hand. He would later tell me that he had pocket aces. So our read on the situation was spot on. We're scooping in this massive pot. It takes me 5 minutes to stack up all these chips, but now we have a mountain of chips. The crazy thing is, only $100 of it is actually profit. I don't care. We're not on tilt. We're not stuck. We're actually winning money. We have a mountain of chips. So let's play some more poker. Shortly after that hand, I win a small pot with King 10 suited. Then I make a correct call with Ace High a few hands later. We're up around $300 before we look down at pocket queens. Open to 30 from the +1. The cutoff, button, and straddle all call. We're going 4 ways to a flop. It comes queen high. We flop top set. The only concerning thing is that there are 3 clubs on the board. We need to charge any hand containing 1 club and just hope no one flopped the flush. I bet 75. In hindsight, that sizing kind of sucks. I should definitely be sizing up. The cutoff and the button both call. We're going 3 ways to a turn. It blows chunks. It's the 6 of clubs. Now, any hand containing a single club makes a flush. I check, hoping no one bets on this turn so that we can see a free river. That's exactly what happens. I still think we're gonna need some help here on the river. Dealer, pair the board. He doesn't. I check. The hijack checks, and the button checks. The button shows pocket 7s for a smaller set. The hijack shows pocket kings with no club, which means our set of queens is somehow good. It's kind of bittersweet because if the board either paired or didn't run out with another club, we might have gotten stacks in the middle. I can't really complain though. We go from being down $1,000 in the first hour to up over $500 an hour later. That's a $1,500 swing. Now I wish I could say things just kept getting better from this point on, but it all kind of just went downhill from there. Somehow people got nittier, if that's even a word. New players got to the table and the action was just horrible. I lose pretty much every hand for the next hour. All of that profit we had slowly goes away. We're back to even. I'm planning to leave here soon, but then I look down at Ace Jack on the button. Under the gun opens to 15. The +2 calls and it folds to me. I feel like a 3-bet is a great option here, but this player is new and I don't know if he's a tight or loose player. He's probably a tight player. So I decide to play it safe and just call. Both of the blinds call as well. We're going 5 ways to a flop. It comes ace high. We have top pair, but I'm not feeling great with so many other players still in the hand. Action checks to the initial raiser. He bets 50. It folds to me. I call. The small blind calls as well. We're going 3 ways to a turn, and it's a brick. The small blind checks. Now the initial raiser checks, and it's on me. I think the small blind most likely has a flush draw. The initial raiser could have us beat with a hand like ace queen or ace king, but I also think he could have a hand like king queen or king jack, which we're ahead of. So I decided to put out a chunky bet for $180. The small blind thinks about it and calls. The initial raiser folds. Now we're heads up. The river is another 7. This is a great card for us, but the small blind does something I wasn't expecting. He leads out for $315. I think he might just have an ace and be trying to get us off a chop here. But then again, I also think he'd go way bigger if that were the case. Now there is another factor that's influencing my decision. Before this hand, the small blind said he's a fan of the channel. So if I call on him wrong, I'll basically just be paying $300 for a like on this video. So for those 2 reasons, I call. He immediately flips over at bluff. Oh, wait, never mind. He has 9-7 for trips. Nice hand, brother. I appreciate you supporting the channel. Now, if you wouldn't mind, go ahead and watch this video 10,000 times all the way through so I can get back my $300. Appreciate that, brother. After that hand, I'm down close to $600. I then proceed to lose a few more hands shortly after. I think it's about time I pack it up and cut my losses here. But right before I'm about to rack up, I peel an ace of hearts, followed by a deuce. Yeah, it's time to leave. Our session at the Wynn did not go well at all. This is not how I expected to start the day. But later tonight, we're gonna have a chance to win all of that money back and then some.
All right, first session did not go good. We got spanked. Minus just over $900. Didn't play good, didn't run that good, except for the 10-7 suited hand. But besides that, didn't play good, didn't run good. So how am I expecting to win money? I don't know. But currently, I'm in Resorts World downing this ice cream. It's absolute gas. So I'm gonna destroy this and then go play some more poker. Hopefully we can end up on the day. Stay locked in, boys.
I arrive at the Resorts World Poker Room ready to win back all the money I just lost. That's going to be really hard to do because the only seats they have open are for 1-3, where the max buy-in is $400. So while I wait for my seat at the 5-5 table, I reluctantly take $400 to the cage, I exchange it for some chips, I take my seat, and just start punting. It all starts when I pick up ace-jack in the cutoff, open to 15. The button calls and the big blind 3-bets to 60, so he has pocket kings at worse. I don't care. I call. Then the button rips it for 155. I don't know what the heck he's representing. The big blind calls. I am so far behind, but I call as well. We actually flop a jack, but there's also a king on the board, and the small blind goes all in covering me. I have no choice but to fold. They run it out, and the big blind shows 4-5 suited. Obviously, I'm capping. He had pocket kings for top set. I had on for another $200 ready to punt, so when I look down at ace-3 offsuit on the button, I'm definitely calling that $12 raise from the +2. I flop 2 pair and the initial raiser c-bets for 25. I just call. Turns a brick. She rips it all in for a whopping 50 bucks. Obviously, she has ace-king. I snap call. River's clean, and now we're only down 75 bucks. 5 minutes later, I stack another player with king-6 suited. He also has like 100 bucks in his stack, so we stack 2 players just to be up $50. They finally call my name for the 5-5 game. I take my chips over to that table, then I go to the cage and get another $1,400 worth of chips. We're in for $2,000. But there's only 2 other players. I don't really care though, because all I need to do is stack one of these guys and I'll be out of the hole for the day. Now right off the bat, I pick up some great hands and lose with almost every single one of them. We decide to play a round of each, which means we're playing Hold'em for one rotation and PLO for the next rotation. That doesn't help at all. It actually makes things worse for me. I can't even win a hand with 4 cards. So after getting whacked for an hour straight, I'm down $700. But thankfully, our table fills up. Now this is where things get crazy. We decide to do $20 double board PLO bomb pots for a round of PLO, which means every single player throws in $20 before we even see the flops. We managed to actually win one of those bomb pots. Well, technically we chopped it, but we still made some profit from it. Now as soon as we switch back to playing Hold'em, I look down at pocket queens. Open to 20. The low jack calls and action folds to the big blind. He 3-bets to 60. Now I've seen this player 3-bet light a few times now. I think more times than not, we're gonna have the best hand here. Also don't wanna play a pot in between 2 players. So I put in the 4-bet to 175. The low jack folds and the big blind calls. We're going heads up to a flop. It comes all low cards. The big blind checks. I c-bet for 150. He thinks about it and calls. The turn is a 7 of clubs. My opponent checks again. A few different straights get there, but I don't think he's gonna have any of those hands. I think there's a good chance he just has 2 overs or maybe a hand like pocket jacks at best. I decide to check it back and give him a chance to bluff on the river or value bet a worse hand. The river is another 10. Now the big blind leads out for 275. I think our check back on the turn might have just got us paid. I snap call. He shows ace jack for ace high. We show the queens and we're scooping in a pot of over $1,200. Finally, things are going back in the right direction. After that hand, we're only down around $100. Now it's a little after 10 p.m. and honestly, I was planning to leave here soon. I was tired and it felt like our chances of booking a win today were over. But then we play our biggest hand of the entire day. I was tired of filming myself lose every single PLO hand, so I didn't start recording this hand until the flop. I peel 5-3-3 jack. Not the best PLO hand by any means, but it's an amazing PLO hand to have when the top board is 3-4-5 and the bottom board is ace deuce 4. We have bottom set on the top and the absolute nuts on the bottom. I started out with a check. A player in middle position bet 100. 2 other players called that 100. Action folded back to me and I potted it for 780 total. I legitimately thought everyone would just fold after I potted it, but the exact opposite happens. The player in middle position repots it, which puts me all in. Then this guy goes all in for his remaining 820, and the other player calls for his remaining 2100. What is going on? Obviously, I call. We're going 4 ways to 2 runouts for a pot of nearly $8,000. If I can just chop this pot, I'll be unstuck on the day and actually be up. And if I can somehow scoop this pot, I'll be up piles of money. The top turn comes another 3, giving us quads. We currently have the nuts on both boards. Are we actually about to scoop this entire pot? Probably not. The bottom turn comes a 7 of clubs. We still have the nuts. All we need is 2 clean rivers, and we're taking down the entire pot. The top river is a queen. We're guaranteed at least half of this pot. All we need is 1 more clean river, and we'll be up piles of money. The bottom river is 10 of clubs. The player in middle position shows ace-6 of clubs for a river nut flush on the bottom. One of the other players shows 6-7 for a flop straight on top. The other player mucked. All we needed was a clean river on the bottom, and we would have been up $5,000. In the moment, I really wasn't that upset. I'd been playing poker all day, and it felt amazing to finally be up on the day. But man, if I could have scooped that pot, I would have been up over $5,000. After that hand, I played for another 45 minutes before calling it a night and racking up.
All right, before we get into these results, I need y'all to go to the comment section right now and tell me where the best states and cities to play poker are, because it ain't in Vegas. Vegas poker sucks, straight up. It's full of grinders, full of pros, nothing wrong with that. It's just not fun poker, okay? I'm used to Dallas poker. It's wild, it's fun. Vegas poker is just grinding and GTO, so I hate it. But the last table I was at was phenomenal, but half of us were from Texas, so that makes sense. Anyways, here are the results. At the Wynn, I punted $917, but at Resorts World, I won $1,400. So on the day, we're plus $483. So played like 10 hours, won $483. It's a lot better than grinding 7.5 hours at a tournament and making $0. So no complaints on my end. Now, that's it for this vlog, but the next vlog is gonna cover my shot take, or when I go take my shot with the 10K. Now, I already know where I'm playing at, but I'm not going to tell you guys. You're going to have to wait and find out. So until then, shut your mouth, stay locked in. Appreciate all the love and support. Peace.